finally, I want to talk a little bit about what happened last week, because last week the Securities and Exchange Commission adopted a new rule designed to modernize the regulation of ETFs. I know it's a little wonky, but bear with me. These new rules, the SEC says, are going to facilitate competition, make things more innovative, give investors more choice, and allow ETFs to come to market more quickly. Is this going to help or hurt ETF investors? I know this is a little wonky. It's going to be up to you guys to sort of explain what did the SEC do last week and how does it help ETF investors or hurt them?
So first of all, I think it's a win for the ETF industry and for ETF investors. Probably the major thing that comes out of this is what's called a harmonization of the exemptive relief rules. And this is where
I've been waiting for years for harmonization of the exemptive relief rule. Just to say that just kind of turns me on. Continue.
Yeah, and this is where an asset manager had to go to the SEC and get an exemption from the 40 Act to allow them to list their shares on a stock exchange.
Now that made the whole process much slower. That's the key point.
It did. That's the key point, and it was not, different firms got different exemptions depending on when they asked over the years. So it was all a bit of a mess. And the upshot is the SEC has harmonized this so that now everybody, exemptive relief has gone away, and so
this is not just eliminating rules and regulations so that you don't have to do anything and the investor's not protected anymore. This is just harmonizing rules. Am I right? I mean,
and better characterizing different products, right? I mean, mutual funds versus ETFs, they're different things. They shouldn't be treated the same way.
Yeah. So what does it mean for the average ETF? Are we going to see any difference? We'll see more product come to market. What does this mean?
I think we could see more products from more issuers. It lowers the bar for a new issuer to come into the space and launch an ETF. So to be fair, over the last 10 years, that bar has been getting lower and lower and lower as more people have become ETF issuers and gone through the process. But there was still a bar there. Now that bar has effectively been taken away, so it's much more streamlined for someone to become an ETF issuer.
Now, here's a guy who's just gone through the whole ETF process with your cannabis ETF. Was it onerous and difficult? Do you think we could streamline the process better?
We could. To be clear, the exemptive relief issue, I don't think made my job any more difficult. I had a legislative issue where I had to get outside legal opinions on the underlying asset class. But I think what we're talking about as three guys that are in the ETF space, you have a dynamic where it's become more transparent, it's become lower cost. Competition in the ETF space is not lacking. I would say it's ridiculously competitive. And I don't think investors are lacking for seeing innovative new products come to market. I think these guys have them. So that's the dynamic that I think is ultimately what's in investors' best interest. But the cannabis ETF world is dealing with legislative dynamics and suddenly a lot of competition, and that's not a bad thing for people investing thematically and actively.
Yeah, you're right. There's no lack of competition. What, 1,600 ETFs? 2,000 almost, right? Again, we got 150 ETF families, funds that are out there.
Yeah. And to put some numbers on it for everybody, like this exemptive relief, 10 years ago when I first came to New York, that used to cost $1 million roughly to get that exemptive relief. Now you don't need it at all. So, think about how much that costs.
Well, do we need a lot more innovation? It seems like you guys are doing all right. There's no lack of thematic ETFs. There's no lack of factor ETFs. There's certainly no lack of indexed ETFs. We've covered the universe on that. Is this suddenly going to? Is this stuff you guys haven't thought about that all of a sudden is going to make it easier and come on the market?
I do think that hedge funds and institutional investors and retail and high net worth investors who are all in the ETF space to be able to trade a basket of securities and be thematic and be efficient. As a former hedge fund manager running a long short hedge fund, that didn't exist 10 years ago in the same way it does today. That's good for everybody.
Yeah.